spent the first half of the year working on and finishing off On the Other Side, and now I've spent the last half of the year working on my next book, so time for reading other people's books has been scarce. That being said, I recently read The Finding of Martha Lost by Caroline Wallace, and it was phenomenal. Caroline Wallace also wrote The Drowning of Arthur Braxton, which Luke Cutforth is making the film for, and as you know from previous videos, I absolutely loved that book. But The Finding of Martha Lost, like, spoke to my soul. I loved it so much, and I just came away wanting to be best friends with Martha Lost. And Caroline actually sent me this copy and wrote me a really lovely message in the front that says, "I think if Martha Lost were real, she'd be a huge fan of you." So thank you so much, Caroline, if you just happen to be watching this, not only for sending me this copy and writing such a lovely message in it, but just for writing this book, because it's wonderful. But enough of me fangirling. I want to read more in the new year, and I have an extensive reading list for 2017, but I thought I'd share with you 5 of the books that I'm most excited about. Number 1, A Year and a Day by Isabel Broome. This book is set in Prague and about 3 women who end up going there at the same time, called Megan, Sophie and Hope. From the front cover and the blurb, I can tell it's a very wintry book, so I'm hoping to read this sort of early next year whilst it's still very crisp and wintry outside. But one of the main reasons I want to read this book is because Isabel Broome chaired my London event on my last book tour for On the Other Side. She did an amazing job at chairing the event. She was such a lovely woman to sit and chat to, and I think I'm right in saying that this is the book that she was writing at the time. This is an uncorrected proof that I was sent from Isabel. Again, I've got like a lovely little message on a postcard inside, but it came out on November 17th, so it's out at the moment in the shops for you guys to go and pick up if you want to read it. Number 2 is A Life Without You by Katie Marsh. This is another uncorrected proof that I was sent, but it was out on the 14th of July, so that is how behind I am with my reading list. Katie Marsh also wrote a book called My Everything, which I absolutely loved and raved about on my channel when I read it, and so I'm really excited to read this because I know that she's a phenomenal author and she has a real honest way of writing that really tugs at your heartstrings. This is about a woman called Zoe who on her wedding day gets a phone call to say that her mum, who she hadn't seen in years, has been arrested. Even the blurb is leaving me going, what next? What happens next? I need to know, I need to know! So I'm very excited to read this. Number 3 is another uncorrected proof that I was given, but it was out on November 3rd, so it's in shops now if you want to go and grab it. It's called Maybe a Fox by Kathy Appelt and Alison McGee. I'm really sorry if I pronounced either of those names wrong. I love reading books meant for people younger than me because there always tends to be that little bit more magic, or they're more open to the idea that there really is more to this world than just what we see. On the back it says it's for readers aged 10 and up, and I am in that category. I am above the age of 10. I just love the front cover because it says maybe a fox, but then in sort of faded writing it says, what happens after? Maybe you turn into the wind. Maybe you become a shooting star. Maybe a fox. Obviously I've not read this book, so I don't know much about it, but to me it sounds like it's about sort of reincarnation and what happens after you die, and I love ideas like that, so I'm so excited to read this. And I know you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, but I really love clever artwork, and here you've got the picture of the fox, but then its shadow is a girl. Love that. Fourthly, a little bit of non-fiction. Everyone has told me that I should read this book, and it's Is Everyone Hanging Out Without Me and Other Concerns by Mindy Kaling. Mindy Kaling? Mindy Kaling. Ever since I watched The American Office, I have loved Mindy Kaling, and I can't believe I haven't read this yet. Really, really can't. Every time I've read an autobiography or a non-fiction book by a comedian, and I've only ever read books by female comedians, interestingly, I have had to stifle laughter in public places, mainly on trains, and I find Mindy Kaling incredibly funny, so I cannot wait to read this book. Fifthly and finally, The Regulars by Georgia Clarke. Firstly, one of the main characters is called Evie, so instantly I'm like, oh. Secondly, there's a book idea that I've had for a very, very long time that I did start work on, but then was told by my editor that it was too dark for a follow-up book to On the Other Side. But the feel that I want and had started to create within that story idea, I also got when I read the blurb of this book. So this is kind of like research. I want to read this book to see if anything jumps out and inspires me for when I do come to finish that book idea. This is about 3 girls called Evie, Krista and Willow who are all living in New York and trying to make it up the corporate ladder. And then they discover this magical tincture called Pretty, which makes them attractive to anyone that sees them. But there is a dark side too. As the gloss starts to fade for these modern day Cinderellas, there's just one question left. What have they sacrificed to be pretty? It sounds so interesting and so dark and kind of funny and witty at the same time. It says it's a Dorian Gray for the girls' generation. So if you guys have read any of these books, let me know in the comments what you thought of them, and also let me know some of the books that are on your reading list for 2017. Bye! It's that time of year again. Project for Awesome! Project for Awesome was set up by the Vlogbrothers, John and Hank Green, to decrease world suck, and they are doing a darn good job of it.